I woke up on a hospital backboard with 3 broken ribs and blood on my hands. The fluorescent lights were too bright. The neck brace was too tight. And my mother's first words weren't, "Are you okay?" or "Thank God you're alive." They were, "I need $4,200 right now or my first-class card is going to decline." Not a question about the car. Not a question about the baby I was carrying. Not even a glance at the gash across my forehead. Just a dollar amount. Specific. Urgent. Expected. That's when I knew. I wasn't her daughter. I was her wallet. And I had been for 9 years. My name is Emma Miller. I'm 29 years old. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. And the woman who raised me didn't abandon me after my accident. She abandoned me long before that. She just waited until I was broken and bleeding to make it official. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me, where are you listening from? What time is it where you are? Drop a comment, because what I'm about to say is going to sound impossible. But I have the bank records to prove it. The pain hit me in waves. Each breath felt like someone was driving a knife between my ribs. My left wrist was swelling. My neck was locked in place by the brace. And somewhere under all the noise and chaos, I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even flinch, because I'm a nurse. And when you work in labor and delivery, you learn very quickly how to compartmentalize. You learn how to smile at a mother in active labor while mentally calculating how fast you can get her to the OR if something goes wrong. You learn how to hold someone's hand and tell them everything will be okay, even when you're not sure it will be. You learn how to function when your body wants to shut down. So that's what I did. I shut off the panic. I locked it away in a corner of my mind where it couldn't touch me. The paramedic leaning over me was named Sarah. I could see her name stitched onto her uniform. She had kind eyes, the kind of eyes that probably made scared patients feel safe. "Emma," she said gently, "we're going to get you stabilized, okay? You're doing great. Do you want me to call anyone? Your husband? Your mom?" I almost laughed. My husband was deployed. He wouldn't even get the message for hours. And my mom? My mom was currently in first class somewhere over the Atlantic, panicking because her credit card wasn't working. "No," I said. My voice came out hoarse, tight. "I need my phone." Sarah hesitated. "Honey, you need to stay still. We're about to move you." "I need my phone," I repeated, louder this time, firmer. She exchanged the glance with the other paramedic. Then she reached into the plastic bag with my belongings and pulled out my cracked iPhone. The screen was shattered, but it still worked. I unlocked it with my thumbprint. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline, because I wasn't looking for comfort. I was looking for a kill switch. Sarah stepped back to give me space. I could feel her watching me, wondering why a woman who just survived a car accident was more concerned with her phone than her injuries. But she didn't understand. This wasn't about the accident. This was about survival. And survival, I had learned, wasn't always about staying alive. Sometimes it was about cutting off the people who were bleeding you dry. I opened my banking app. My vision was blurry. The screen kept doubling, but I knew exactly where to go. Accounts, linked users, authorized access. And there it was, Pamela Miller, active, my mother's name, right there, with full access to my checking account, my savings account, and my emergency fund. I stared at it for a long moment. My ribs screamed with every breath. My wrist throbbed. My head felt like it was splitting open. But all I could think about was one thing. She didn't ask if I was alive. She asked for money. I tapped her name. A menu appeared. Remove access? My thumb hovered over the button. For 9 years, I had convinced myself this was normal, that linking our accounts was just something mothers and daughters did, that it was practical, convenient, helpful. But it wasn't help, it was control. And control, I was starting to realize, wasn't the same thing as love. I tapped the button. Confirm removal? Yes. The screen flickered. Pamela Miller, access revoked. The green dot next to her name turned gray, and just like that, she was gone. No argument, no confrontation, no explanation, just one tap. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Sarah came back over. Okay, Emma, we're going to give you something for the pain now. Just try to relax. I nodded. For the first time in 9 years, I could. The ER was chaos. Bright lights, loud voices, the smell of antiseptic and blood. They wheeled me into a trauma bay and transferred me onto a hospital bed. A doctor appeared, then a nurse, then another nurse. Everyone was moving fast, talking fast, checking monitors and IVs, and asking me questions I barely heard. Any allergies? No. Are you pregnant? Yes, 10 weeks. That got everyone's attention. They ordered an ultrasound. They paged OB. They started fluids and pain meds, and something else I didn't catch. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I had just done. I had cut my mother off, financially, completely, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no panic, no regret. Just a strange, hollow sense of relief, like I had been holding my breath underwater for years, and I had finally come up for air. The ultrasound tech came in. She was young, nervous. She kept apologizing as she squeezed the cold gel onto my abdomen. Sorry, she said. I know this is uncomfortable. It's fine, I said. She moved the probe around. I watched the scream, waiting, and then I heard it. The heartbeat, fast, strong, steady. I closed my eyes. The baby was okay. I was okay. And my mother's credit card could decline for all I cared. They admitted me for observation. 3 broken ribs, a sprained wrist, a mild concussion. No internal bleeding, no complications with the pregnancy. I was lucky, they said. I didn't feel lucky. I felt exhausted. They moved me to a room on the 4th floor. It was quiet, dark, the kind of quiet that makes you think too much. I lay in the hospital bed, staring at my phone. No messages from my mother, not one. No, are you okay? No, I heard about the accident. Nothing, just silence. I should have been surprised, but I wasn't, because deep down, I had always known. I had always known that I wasn't her banking
daughter.
app. I was
The
her
green
safety net,
dot.
her backup
My
plan,
mother's
her
name.
retirement fund.
Pamela Miller.
And now that the money
Active.
was gone,
It had been
so
there.
was she for 9 years. It had been there for 9 years. 9 years. And I never questioned it. Not once. I kept replaying the moment she convinced me to link our accounts. I was 20 years old, just starting nursing school, broke, scared, trying to figure out how to pay rent and tuition at the same time. She had called me one afternoon. Her voice was calm, steady, the way it always was when she wanted something. Emma, she said, I've been thinking. You're working so hard, and I hate the idea of you struggling. What if we linked our bank accounts, just for emergencies? That way, if you ever need help, I can transfer money to you right away. I remember feeling grateful, relieved, like maybe, for once, she actually cared. Are you sure? I asked.
Of course, she said. You're my daughter. I want to help.
So I did it. I went to the bank. I filled out the paperwork. I added her as an authorized user. And she smiled. She hugged me. She told me I was smart for planning ahead. What I didn't know was that overdraft protection meant something very different than I thought. I thought it meant she could transfer money to me if I overdrafted. But what it actually meant was that she could transfer money from me whenever she wanted. And she did. For 9 years. Every single month. Like clockwork. I never noticed at first. The amounts were small. 100 here, 200 there. Easy to miss when you're working 12-hour shifts and studying for exams. But then I graduated. I got a full-time job. I started making real money, and the transfers got bigger, a lot bigger. I pulled up my banking app and went to the transaction history. I scrolled back, month after month after month, and there it was. Transfer to Pamela Miller, $2,500. Transfer to Pamela Miller, $800. Transfer to Pamela Miller, $900. Every single month. I did the math in my head. $2,500 for her condo mortgage, $800 for her country club dues, $900 for her premium health insurance. Total, $4,200 a month. For 108 months. That's $453,600. I stared at the number. $453,000. Gone. Not borrowed. Not asked for. Just taken. I felt sick. Not because of the concussion. Because of the betrayal. I had worked myself to exhaustion for 9 years. I had picked up extra shifts. I had skipped meals. I had lived in a tiny apartment with 2 roommates because I couldn't afford anything better. And the whole time, my mother was living in a luxury condo, playing tennis at a country club, flying first class to Europe, on my money, and she never said thank you. She never even acknowledged it, because to her, it wasn't a gift, it was an expectation. I scrolled further back, to the very first transfer. Transfer to Pamela Miller, $150. It was 2 weeks after I linked the accounts. 2 weeks. She didn't wait for an emergency. She didn't ask permission. She just took it. And I never knew. Because she was careful. She never took so much that I'd panic. Never so much that I'd check. Just enough to stay under the radar. Just enough to bleed me dry without me noticing. I thought about all the times I had struggled. The times I couldn't afford groceries. The times I put gas on a credit card because my checking account was empty. The times I worked double shifts just to make rent. And the whole time, she was spending my money on things I couldn't even imagine affording. I wasn't stupid. I want to be clear about that. I was groomed. There's a difference. Stupid is when you don't know better. Groomed is when someone you trust teaches you that exploitation is love. And my mother had been grooming me since I was 10 years old. I remember the first time I realized affection was conditional. I was in 4th grade. I had just won a spelling bee at school. I came home so excited. I ran into the kitchen, waving the certificate in the air. Mom, I won. She looked up from her magazine. That's nice, Emma. That was it. No hug, no smile, no I'm proud of you. Just, that's nice. I stood there, holding the certificate, feeling my excitement drain away. But then, a week later, I brought home a check from my grandmother, $50 for my birthday. My mother's whole face lit up. She hugged me. She kissed my forehead. She told me how smart I was for saving money. And I learned something that day. Love wasn't free. It was transactional. If I was useful, I was loved. If I wasn't, I was invisible. By the time I was a teenager, I had learned all the rules. Bring home good grades? Get a smile. Win an award? Get a hug. Make her look good in front of her friends? Get praise. But ask for help? Ask for attention? Ask for anything that didn't benefit her? Silence. Cold, empty silence. So I stopped asking. I learned to be useful. I learned to be low maintenance. I learned that the only way to earn love was to give until there was nothing left. And by the time I was 20, linking our bank accounts didn't feel like a red flag. It felt like proof that I was finally good enough, finally useful enough, finally worth keeping around. But I was wrong, because love isn't a mortgage. You can't earn it. You can't fix it by giving more. Real love doesn't have a price tag. And my mother never loved me. She loved what I could give her. I closed the banking app. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My chest wasn't tight. I just felt empty. Not sad, not angry. Just done. Completely, utterly done. I had spent 9 years trying to be enough, trying to earn her love, trying to prove I was worth something. And all I had to show for it was an empty bank account and a mother who didn't even ask if I survived a car accident. But that was about to change. Because I wasn't just cutting her off financially. I was setting a trap. And she was about to walk right into it. The nurse came in to check my vitals around midnight. She was older, maybe in her 50s. She moved quietly, efficiently, like someone who had done this 1,000 times before. "How's the pain?" she asked. "Manageable," I said. She nodded and made a note on her tablet. "You should try to sleep. Your body needs rest." "I will," I lied. She left, and I went back to staring at my phone. The screen was still cracked, little spiderwebs of broken glass spreading out from the corner. But I could see everything clearly. My bank account, my mother's name, that gray dot where the green one used to be. Pamela Miller, access revoked. I had done it. I had cut her off, but I hadn't told her, and that was the key. Because if I had called her, if I had sent a text, if I had said anything at all, she would have had time to prepare, time to spin a story, time to make me feel guilty, time to convince me I was wrong. But I didn't give her that chance. I just removed her access and waited. No explanation. No argument. No drama. Just one tap, and gravity did the rest. I didn't move the money. I didn't hide it. I didn't transfer it to another account. I just stepped aside and let her fall. My phone buzzed. I looked down. It was a text from my mother. Finally. "Mom, my card just declined. Fix it." Not a question, a command. I stared at the message. 4 words. That's all I was worth. 4 words. Not "Are you okay?" Not "I heard about the accident." Not even "How are you feeling?" Just "Fix it." I could feel my jaw tighten. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to respond, wanted to explain, wanted to tell her exactly what I had done and why. But I didn't, because she didn't deserve an explanation. She deserved exactly what she gave me. Silence. I put the phone face down on the table next to my hospital bed, and I closed my eyes. For the first time in 9 years, I didn't rush to fix her problem. I didn't panic. I didn't move. The next morning, a different nurse came in with my breakfast tray. She was young, cheerful, the kind of person who probably annoyed everyone at 7 in the morning. "Good morning," she said brightly. "How are we feeling today?" "Sore," I said. "That's normal," she said. She set the tray down and started adjusting my bed. "You've been through a lot, but the good news is everything looks stable. The doctor will be in soon to talk about discharge." I nodded. She hesitated. "Is there anyone we should call? Family? A friend?" "No," I said. "I'm fine." She gave me a look. The kind of look nurses give when they know you're lying, but they're too polite to say it. "Okay," she said softly. "Well, if you change your mind, just let us know." She left, and I went back to my phone. 3 more texts from my mother. "Mom, Emma, I'm serious. My card declined again. Mom, this is embarrassing. I'm at brunch. Mom, call me now." I almost laughed. I was in a hospital bed with 3 broken ribs and a concussion. And she was mad because her credit card didn't work at brunch. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my banking app again. I wanted to see it one more time. Pamela Miller, access revoked. It still felt surreal, like I had finally done something I should have done years ago. But I wasn't done yet, because revoking her access was just step 1. Step 2 was making sure she couldn't get it back. I navigated to the security settings. I changed my passwords. I enabled 2-factor authentication. I removed her as an emergency contact. I removed her from everything. Every single connection between her name and my money. Gone. And then I did something I had been thinking about since the accident. I called my bank. The customer service rep answered on the 3rd ring. "Good morning. This is Jennifer. How can I help you today?" "Hi," I said. My voice was calm, steady. "I need to freeze my accounts." Okay, she said. Can I ask why? Suspected fraud, I said. I see. Can you verify your identity for me? I answered her questions. Name, address, social security number, mother's maiden name. Ironic, that last one. All right, Ms. Miller, Jennifer said. I've placed a temporary freeze on all your accounts. No transactions will be authorized until you lift it. Is there anything else I can help you with? Yes, I said. I need to file a report. Someone has been making unauthorized transfers from my account for the past 9 years. There was a pause. 9 years? Yes. And you're just now reporting it? I took a breath. I didn't realize it was unauthorized, I said. The person had my permission at first, but I've since revoked that permission, and I need a record of every transfer they made. Understood, Jennifer said. Her tone had shifted. More serious now. I'm going to transfer you to our fraud department. They'll be able to pull the full transaction history and start an investigation. She transferred me, and I spent the next hour on the phone, walking a fraud specialist through 9 years of theft. By the time I hung up, my head was pounding. But I felt lighter, because I had done it. I had reported her. Not to punish her, but to protect myself. Because I knew my mother, and I knew that the second she realized I had cut her off, she would try to get the money back. She would cry, she would manipulate, she would threaten, she would do whatever it took. But now, there was a paper trail, a legal record, proof that I hadn't just changed my mind, proof that this wasn't a misunderstanding, proof that she had been stealing from me, and if she tried anything, I had evidence. The doctor came in around noon. He was tall, gray hair, the kind of calm, authoritative presence that made you trust him immediately. Ms. Miller, he said, how are you feeling? Okay, I said. He pulled up a chair and sat down. Your scans look good. No internal bleeding. No complications with the pregnancy. Your ribs are going to hurt for a while, but they'll heal on their own. Same with your wrist. So I can go home? Soon, he said. We just want to monitor you for another few hours. Make sure there are no surprises. I nodded. He stood up. Do you have someone to pick you up? You shouldn't be driving. I'll figure it out, I said. He looked at me for a long moment. Ms. Miller, he said gently, you've been through a serious trauma. It's okay to ask for help. I met his eyes. I know, I said, but I don't need it. He didn't push. He just nodded and left, and I sat there, alone in my hospital room, staring at my phone, waiting, because I knew what was coming next. My mother wasn't going to let this go. She was going to come here. She was going to demand answers. I didn't cry. I wanted to. I could feel it building in my chest, that tight, burning pressure that sits right behind your ribs and makes it hard to breathe. But I didn't let it out, because if I started crying, I wouldn't stop, and I needed to stay sharp. So I did what I always did when emotions got too big. I made a list, not on paper, in my head, a mental inventory of everything I had lost, everything she had taken. I started with the money, $4,200 a month, for 108 months, $453,600. I let that number sit in my mind for a while. $453,600. That was more than most people made in 10 years. That was a house, a college fund, a future. And it was gone. But it wasn't just the money. It was what the money represented. It was every extra shift I picked up when I was so exhausted I could barely stand. It was every time I ate ramen for dinner because I couldn't afford groceries. It was every time I said no to my friends because I couldn't afford to go out. It was every time I looked at my bank account and wondered why I was working so hard and still had nothing to show for it. And the whole time, she was living like a queen. I thought about her condo. I had only been there once, right after she bought it. She had called me so excited. Emma, you have to come see it. It's perfect. So I drove 2 hours to visit her. And when I walked in, I felt sick. It was beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble countertops, a balcony overlooking the water. The kind of place I could only dream about. "Isn't it amazing?" she said, spinning around like a teenager. "It's really nice," I said. "I know," she said. "I deserve this, after everything I've been through." I didn't ask what she meant by that. I just nodded. Because even then, I knew. I knew she hadn't bought this place with her own money. She worked part-time at a boutique. She made maybe $30,000 a year. There was no way she could afford a place like this. But I didn't say anything, because I didn't want to ruin her happiness. I didn't want to be the bad guy, so I smiled. I told her I was happy for her, and I left. And I never asked where the money came from, because deep down, I already knew. Then there was the country club. She joined when I was 25. She called me one day, bubbling with excitement. "Emma, guess what? I just joined the country club. They have the most amazing tennis courts. You should come play with me sometime." I remember feeling confused. "Mom," I said, "country clubs are expensive. Can you afford that?" She laughed. "Of course I can. I'm not struggling anymore, Emma. I'm finally living the life I deserve. The life she deserved, on my dime." I did the math now, lying in my hospital bed. Country club dues were around $800 a month. For 7 years. That's $67,200. $67,000. While I was picking up double shifts just to pay my electric bill. And then there was the health insurance. She had switched to a premium plan 3 years ago. I remembered because she had called to tell me about it. "Emma, I finally got decent health insurance, the kind that actually covers things. No more fighting with those cheap HMO people." "That's great, Mom," I had said. "It's expensive, though," she had said, "but it's worth it. I'm not getting any younger." I had felt guilty. Guilty that she was worried about money. Guilty that I wasn't helping more. So I had offered, "Do you need help with the payments?" I asked. She had hesitated. "Oh, Emma, you're so sweet. But no, I can manage." I believed her, because I wanted to believe her. But now I knew the truth. She wasn't managing. She was just taking. $900 a month, for 3 years. That's $32,400. For health insurance I didn't even know I was paying for. I added it all up again. Condo, $2,500 a month for 9 years, equals $270,000. Country club, $800 per month for 7 years, equals $67,200. Health insurance, $900 per month for 3 years, equals $32,400. Random transfers and emergencies, approximately $84,000. Total, $453,600. And what did I have to show for it? A 1-bedroom apartment I shared with a roommate, a used car that barely ran, a savings account with $3,000 in it, and a mother who didn't even ask if I was alive. I thought about my baby, 10 weeks old, still so small, still so fragile. I had been saving for months, putting aside every extra dollar I could, because I wanted to give this baby everything I never had. Stability, security, a future. But my savings account was almost empty, because every time I managed to save a little, my mother took it. Not directly, but indirectly. Because every time I had to cover an unexpected expense, every time I had to fix my car or pay a medical bill or replace something that broke, I had to dip into my savings. And I never had enough left over, because I was already supporting 2 people, myself and her, and now there was going to be a third. A baby who deserved better than this. Better than a mother who was too exhausted to enjoy life. Better than a grandmother who only showed up when she needed something. Better than a family built on exploitation disguised as love. I felt my chest tighten again. But this time, it wasn't sadness. It was anger. Pure, white-hot anger. Because that money could have changed everything. It could have been a college fund. It could have been a down payment on a house. It could have been peace of mind. But instead, it was gone. Spent on a lifestyle my mother didn't earn. Wasted on luxuries I could never afford. And she didn't even say thank you. She didn't even acknowledge it. Because to her, I wasn't a person. I was a resource, a paycheck, a means to an end. And I had let it happen. For 9 years, I had let it happen. Because I thought that's what love was. I thought love meant giving until there was nothing left. I thought that if I just gave enough, worked hard enough, proved myself enough, she would finally see me, finally value me, finally love me the way I loved her. But she never did, and she never would. Because love isn't a mortgage. You can't pay it off. You can't earn it by giving more. Real love doesn't cost anything. It's freely given. No conditions, no strings, no price tag. And my mother had never loved me. She had used me for 9 years, and I was done. My phone buzzed again. I looked down. Another text. Mom, Emma, this isn't funny. Call me right now. I almost laughed. She thought this was a joke. She thought I had made a mistake. She thought I would panic and fix it like I always did. But I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't the scared 20-year-old who thought linking bank accounts meant love. I wasn't the exhausted nurse who worked herself to the bone and wondered why she had nothing. And I was done being a victim. I put the phone down, and I waited. Because I knew what was coming next. She was going to come to the hospital. She was going to try to guilt me. She was going to try to manipulate me. She was going to try to take back control. But I was ready. Because this time I wasn't going to fight back. I was going to let her destroy herself. And I was going to watch. I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always the kind of person who could cut someone off without flinching. There was a time when I would have done anything for my mother's approval. When I would have given anything just to hear her say she was proud of me. When I believed that love was something you earned. That belief didn't start when I was 20. It started when I was 10. I remember the exact moment I learned that affection was conditional. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October. I had just gotten home from school. I was in 4th grade. We had a spelling bee that day, and I won. I was so excited. I ran all the way home. I didn't even stop to talk to my friends. I just wanted to tell my mom. I burst through the front door, waving my certificate in the air. Mom, I won the spelling bee. She was sitting on the couch, reading a magazine. She looked up. That's nice, Emma. And then she looked back down. That was it. No smile, no hug. No, I'm so proud of you. Just, that's nice. I stood there in the doorway, holding my certificate, waiting for her to say something else, waiting for her to care. But she didn't. She just kept reading. I walked to my room, I closed the door, and I cried, because I didn't understand. I had worked so hard. I had studied every night for 2 weeks. I had beaten 20 other kids, and all I got was that's nice. But then, a week later, something changed. My grandmother sent me a birthday card. Inside was a check for $50. I showed my mom, and her whole face lit up. She hugged me. She kissed my forehead. She told me how smart I was, how responsible I was, how proud she was that I was saving money. I remember feeling confused. Why was she happy now? What was different? And then I realized. The certificate didn't matter. The spelling bee didn't matter. What mattered was the money. That's when she cared. That's when I was worth her attention. I started noticing a pattern after that. If I brought home good grades, she smiled. If I won an award, she hugged me. If I made her look good in front of her friends, she praised me. But if I asked for help with my homework, she was too busy. If I wanted to talk about my day, she wasn't interested. If I needed her, she disappeared. Love, I learned, wasn't about connection. It was about performance. And I became very good at performing. By the time I was in middle school, I had learned all the rules. Rule 1, don't ask for things. Asking made me needy. Needy was bad. If I wanted something, I had to earn it myself. Rule 2, don't cry. Crying made me weak. Weak was annoying. If I was upset, I dealt with it alone. Rule 3, don't complain. Complaining made me ungrateful. Ungrateful was unacceptable. If something was wrong, I fixed it quietly. Rule 4. Be useful. If I wasn't useful, I was invisible. So I made myself useful. I did the dishes without being asked. I cleaned the house. I babysat my younger sister Rebecca, even though I was only 12. I did everything right. And sometimes, if I did enough, my mother noticed. She would smile at me, tell me I was a good daughter, and I would feel warm inside, like maybe, just maybe, I was enough. But the warmth never lasted, because there was always something else, something more I could do, something more I could give, and if I didn't, the warmth disappeared. She would go cold. She would stop talking to me. She would look through me like I wasn't even there, and I would panic. What did I do wrong? How could I fix it? I would work harder, try harder, give more, until she smiled again, and the cycle would start over. By high school, I was exhausted, but I didn't know it, because exhaustion was normal. Working hard was normal. Giving everything and getting nothing back was normal. That's just what love was. That's what I thought. I remember one time, I was 15. I had been saving money from my part-time job at the grocery store. I wanted to buy a dress for homecoming. Nothing expensive, just something that made me feel pretty. I had been saving for 2 months. I finally had enough. I went to my mom, excited. "Mom, look, I saved enough for a dress." She looked at the money in my hand. "That's great, sweetie," she said, and then she paused. "Actually, Emma, I need to borrow some of that." I blinked. "What?" "Just a little," she said. "I'm short on the electric bill this month. I'll pay you back." I hesitated. I had worked so hard for this money. But she was my mom, and she needed help. So I gave it to her. All of it. She smiled. She hugged me. "You're such a good daughter," she said. I never got the money back, and I never went to homecoming. That should have been a red flag, but it wasn't. Because by then, I had been trained. Trained to believe that my needs didn't matter. Trained to believe that saying no was selfish. Trained to believe that love meant sacrifice. And I sacrificed. Over and over and over, until there was nothing left. When I graduated high school, I got a full scholarship to nursing school. I was so proud. I had worked so hard. I thought maybe, finally, my mom would be proud too. I told her at dinner, "Mom, I got the scholarship. Full ride. I'm going to nursing school." She looked at me. "That's wonderful, Emma," she said. And then she frowned. "But what about me?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Well, if you're going to school, who's going to help me with Rebecca? Who's going to help around the house?" I stared at her. "Mom, this is my future." "I know," she said, "but I need you too." And just like that, my accomplishment didn't matter. What mattered was what I could do for her. I went to nursing school anyway, but I still came home on weekends. I still helped with Rebecca. I still sent money when she asked, because that's what good daughters did. And then, when I was 20, she asked me to link our bank accounts. And I said yes, because I had been saying yes my whole life, because I didn't know how to say no, because I thought that's what love was. But love isn't a mortgage. You can't pay it off. You can't earn it by giving more, and you can't fix it by being perfect. Real love doesn't come with conditions. It doesn't come with rules. It doesn't require you to disappear so someone else can shine. Real love sees you, values you, chooses you, not because of what you can do, but because of who you are. And my mother never loved me. She loved what I could give her, and I had been giving for 19 years. Lying in that hospital bed, I finally understood. It wasn't my fault. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't weak. I was groomed, carefully, methodically, from the time I was 10 years old. I was taught that my worth was tied to my usefulness, that love was something I had to earn, that saying no made me selfish, that asking for help made me weak. and by the time I was an adult, those beliefs were so deeply embedded that I didn't even question them. I just kept giving, and giving, and giving, until I had nothing left. But now, lying in that hospital bed, with 3 broken ribs and a baby growing inside me, I finally saw the truth. I didn't owe her anything. Not my money, not my time, not my love, and I wasn't going to give her anything ever again. Around 2 in the afternoon, Sarah came back. Sarah, the paramedic from the accident. She wasn't in uniform this time. She was wearing jeans and a sweater. She knocked softly on the doorframe. "Hey," she said. "I hope it's okay that I stopped by. I wanted to check on you." I looked up, surprised. "You didn't have to do that," I said. She shrugged. "I know, but I was in the area, and I kept thinking about you. You seemed, I don't know, like you were handling more than just the accident." She was perceptive. I liked that. "I'm okay," I said. She pulled up a chair and sat down. "You don't have to be okay, you know? You just survived the car accident. It's okay to fall apart a little." I almost smiled. "I'm not really the falling apart type," I said. "I noticed," she said. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I said, "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. If someone was in a hospital and you wanted to make them look worse than they are." Sarah's eyebrows went up. "Worse? Yeah, like medically fragile, unstable, like they shouldn't be disturbed." She studied me for a long moment. "Are you expecting someone?" she asked quietly. "Yes. Someone you don't want to see?" "Someone I need to see," I corrected, "but on my terms." Sarah leaned back in her chair. "Okay," she said slowly. "Hypothetically, if you wanted to look worse than you are, you'd need a few things. Dim lighting, oxygen mask, even if you don't need it. Maybe a saline drip to make it look more serious. A sign on the door that says no visitors, or limited visitation, that kind of thing." I nodded. "Could you help me with that?" "Why?" I met her eyes. "Because the person who's coming isn't here to check on me," I said. "She's here to get something from me, and I need to make sure she doesn't get it." Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she stood up. "Give me 10 minutes," she said. She came back with a nurse, not the cheerful one from this morning. An older one. The kind who had seen everything and didn't take crap from anyone. Her name was Linda. "Sarah tells me you need some help," Linda said. "I do," I said. "What kind of help?" I explained the situation. Not all of it, just enough. I told her my mother was coming. I told her my mother was going to try to pressure me into something I didn't want to do. And I told her I needed to look like I was in no condition to be pressured. Linda listened. Then she nodded. "Honey," she said, "I've been a nurse for 32 years, and I've seen this more times than I can count. Family members who show up at the hospital not because they care, but because they want something." She crossed her arms. "You want to look medically unstable? Fine, we can do that." She turned to Sarah. "Go grab a portable oxygen tank and a mask and a vitals monitor. Make it beep a lot." Sarah grinned and left. "Here's what we're going to do," she said. "We're going to dim the lights. We're going to put you on oxygen. We're going to make the monitors very loud and very present. And we're going to put a sign on your door that says critical care observation." "Will that work?" I asked. "It'll make her think twice before she starts making demands," Linda said. "And if she tries anything, I'll be right outside. I don't care who she is. This is my floor, and nobody messes with my patients." I felt a wave of gratitude. "Thank you," I said. Linda patted my hand. "You just focus on getting better," she said. "Let us handle the rest." They worked fast. Sarah brought in the oxygen mask and hooked it up. I didn't need it, but it looked official. Linda dimmed the lights and adjusted the monitors so they beeped louder. She put a sign on the door. "Critical care observation, limited visitation. If she tries anything," Linda said, "you press this. I'll be here in 10 seconds." I nodded. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. "Good luck," she said. And then they left. I lay there in the dim light, listening to the monitors beep. My phone buzzed. I looked down. Mom, I'm on my way to the hospital. We need to talk. I didn't respond. I just waited. 20 minutes later, I heard heels. Click, click, click. Sharp, fast, angry. The sound of someone who wasn't here to comfort. The sound of someone who was here to win. The door opened, and there she was, Pamela Miller, my mother. She looked exactly the same as always. Perfectly styled hair, expensive coat, designer purse. She looked like someone who had everything together, like someone who had never struggled a day in her life, because she hadn't. I had struggled for her. She walked in and stopped when she saw me. I was lying in the hospital bed, oxygen mask on, monitors beeping, lights dim. I looked fragile, helpless. Exactly how I wanted to look. "Emma," she said. Her voice wasn't concerned. It was irritated. "What happened?" she asked. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "I was so worried." Just, "What happened?" "Car accident," I said. My voice was muffled by the oxygen mask. She frowned. "Are you seriously hurt?" 3 broken ribs, concussion, sprained wrist. She waved her hand like that was nothing. "Well, you're fine," she said. "You're talking. You're awake. That's what matters." She pulled up a chair and sat down. "Now," she said, "we need to talk about this banking situation." There it was. No pretense, no warmth, just business. "My card has been declining all day," she continued. "I don't know what happened, but you need to fix it, right now." I didn't respond. She leaned forward. "Emma, I'm serious. This is embarrassing. I was at brunch with my friends, and my card declined. Do you know how that made me look?" I stared at her. She was worried about how she looked in front of her friends. "I removed your access," I said quietly. She blinked. "You what?" "I removed your access to my bank accounts." Her face went pale, then red. "You can't do that," she said. "I already did." "Emma, that money is for emergencies." "It's my money," I said, "not yours." She stood up. "Don't you dare do this to me," she said. Her voice was sharp now, dangerous. "After everything I've done for you, after I raised you, after I sacrificed for you." I almost laughed. Sacrificed. She had sacrificed nothing. "You didn't sacrifice," I said. "You stole." Her eyes narrowed. "I did not steal from you. That money was $4,200 a month for 9 years," I said. $453,000, gone, without my permission. She opened her mouth, then closed it. "You're being dramatic," she said finally. "Am I? I was going to pay you back." "When?" She didn't answer. She was never going to pay me back. She didn't even think she had to. She took a breath, and then her expression changed. Softened. She sat back down. "Emma," she said gently, "I know you're upset. I know you've been through a lot today, but you're not thinking clearly." Here it comes, I thought. The manipulation. "You're hurt," she continued. "You're scared. You're not in the right headspace to make these kinds of decisions." "I'm fine," I said. "No, you're not," she said. "You're in a hospital bed. You have a concussion. You shouldn't be making financial decisions right now." She reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. "That's why I brought help," she said. The door opened again, and 2 people walked in. My sister Rebecca, and a man in a suit I didn't recognize. Rebecca looked uncomfortable. The man looked like a lawyer. "This is Mr. Sterling," my mother said. "He's a family attorney. He's here to help us sort this out." I stared at her. She had brought a lawyer to my hospital room. "Mom," I said slowly, "what are you doing?" "I'm protecting you," she said, "from yourself." Mr. Sterling stepped forward. "Miss Miller," he said, "your mother is concerned about your ability to make sound financial decisions given your current medical state. We'd like to set up a temporary power of attorney so she can manage your accounts until you've recovered." I felt my blood run cold. She was trying to take control legally. "No," I said. "Emma, be reasonable." "No." My mother's face hardened. "You don't have a choice," she said, and then she nodded to Rebecca. Rebecca stepped forward. She was holding my phone. "We just need your thumbprint," my mother said. to authorize the transfer. I stared at them. They were trying to force me in a hospital bed while I was injured. They were actually trying to steal from me, and that's when I pressed the call button. The call button didn't make a sound in my room, but I knew Linda was coming. My mother didn't notice. She was too focused on getting what she wanted. "Emma, stop being difficult," she said. "Just give us your thumbprint. This is for your own good." Rebecca stepped closer with my phone. Her hand was shaking. She didn't want to be here, but she was doing it anyway. Mr. Sterling pulled papers from his briefcase. "This is a standard temporary power of attorney," he said. "It just gives your mother access." "To steal from me," I said. My voice was louder now, clearer. I pulled off the oxygen mask. "That's what this is," I continued. "Theft. You're trying to force me to give you access to my money while I'm lying in a hospital bed." My mother's face went red. "How dare you?" The door opened. Linda walked in. She took one look at the scene, and her expression hardened. "What's going on here?" she said. "We're having a family discussion," my mother said smoothly. "With a lawyer," Linda said. "In a critical care room?" "This is none of your business," my mother snapped. "Actually," Linda said, "it is. This is my patient, and you're upsetting her." She looked at me. "Do you want these people here?" she asked. "No," I said. Linda nodded. "Then they need to leave." My mother stood up. "We're not going anywhere. I'm her mother." "I don't care if you're the Queen of England," Linda said. "This patient has requested that you leave, so you're leaving." Mr. Sterling cleared his throat. "Actually, we have a legal right." "You have no rights in this hospital," Linda said. "Not without the patient's consent, which she just refused to give." She walked to the door and opened it. "Security is on their way," she said. "You can leave on your own, or they can escort you out. Your choice." My mother's face was purple now. "Emma," she hissed, "you are making a huge mistake." "No," I said quietly, "I'm not." "Emma, please," she said. "Just talk to us." "Why?" I said. "So you can try to steal from me again?" "We're not stealing." "Yes, you are," I said. "That's exactly what you're doing." Mr. Sterling packed his briefcase. "This isn't over," my mother said. But it was. Because at that moment, 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. "These people need to leave," Linda said. The guards nodded. "Ma'am," one of them said to my mother, "you need to come with us." "This is ridiculous." "Now," the guard said. His voice was firm, not negotiable. My mother grabbed her purse. She looked at me one more time. "You're going to regret this," she said. And then she left. Rebecca followed. Mr. Sterling followed. The door closed, and I was alone. Linda came back a few minutes later. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded, but I was shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline, from relief, from the realization that I had actually done it. I had stood up to her, and won. "That woman is not allowed back on this floor," she said. "I've made a note in your chart. If she tries to come back, security will remove her immediately." "Thank you," I said. My voice was barely a whisper. Linda patted my hand. "You're safe here," she said. "I promise." And for the first time in 9 years, I believed it. I didn't expect what happened next. About an hour after my mother left, there was another knock on the door. I tensed, but it wasn't her. It was my grandfather, Grandpa George. He was 82 years old, thin and tall, with white hair and kind eyes. He was carrying a folder. "Emma," he said softly, "can I come in?" I nodded. He closed the door behind him and sat down. "I heard what happened," he said. "How?" "Rebecca called me," he said. "She was crying. Said your mother tried to get power of attorney, and you refused." He paused. "She said you're being unreasonable." I looked down. "I'm not," I said quietly. "I know," he said. I looked up, surprised. He opened the folder. "I've known what your mother was doing for years," he said. "What?" "The money," he said. "I've seen the way she lives. I've seen your apartment. I'm not stupid, Emma. I knew she was taking from you. My throat tightened. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was waiting for you to see it yourself, he said. I couldn't make you leave. You had to choose it. He pulled out a document. But I did prepare for this day, he said. He handed me the paper. It was a medical power of attorney, dated 3 years ago, naming George Miller as my healthcare decision-maker. You signed this when you were 26, he said. You probably don't remember. You were at my house for Thanksgiving. I told you it was just a formality, in case something ever happened. I stared at the document. My signature was at the bottom. I had a feeling your mother would try something like this eventually, he said. So I made sure I was protected. And more importantly, that you were protected. Tears filled my eyes. Grandpa, your mother doesn't have any legal power over you, he said. I do, and I'm not going anywhere. He stood up. Now get some rest, he said. You're safe. But that wasn't the end. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Rebecca, Mom's card got declined again. She asked me to pay Mr. Sterling with your card. I tried, but it didn't work. I stared at the message. She tried to use my card, even after everything, even after being escorted out by security. She actually tried to charge the lawyer to my account. I screenshot the message, and I sent it to the fraud department at my bank. Evidence. 2 days later, I was discharged from the hospital. Grandpa picked me up. He drove me to my apartment and helped me inside. You need anything? You call me, he said. I will, I said. He hugged me carefully, mindful of my ribs. And then he left. I sat on my couch, alone in my quiet apartment. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Mom, you know that money was rent, for raising you, for everything I gave you. You owe me. I read it 3 times. Rent. She actually called it rent for being my mother. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the text to my accountant. And then I did something I had been thinking about since the hospital. I reported her to the IRS. 9 years of unreported transfers. 9 years of income she never declared. I had every bank statement, every receipt, every piece of evidence, and I sent it all. 6 weeks later, I got a letter. The IRS had seized her accounts. They had placed a lien on her condo. They were investigating her for tax fraud. And because I had reported it, I was entitled to a whistleblower reward. 15% of what they recovered. The check arrived 2 weeks later. $41,350. I stared at it. It wasn't even a tenth of what she had taken. But it was enough. Enough for a nursery. Enough for a safety net. Enough to start over. I never heard from my mother again. She didn't call. She didn't text. She didn't apologize. But I didn't need her to, because I finally understood. I didn't lose a mother. I lost a payroll. And I got my life back. My baby was born 4 months later. A girl. I named her Grace, because that's what I gave myself. Grace to heal. Grace to move on. Grace to build a life that didn't cost me everything. Grandpa George was there the day she was born. He held her and cried. She's perfect, he said. And she was. If you're listening to this and you see yourself in my story, I want you to know something. It's not your fault. You're not stupid. You were groomed, and you can leave. It won't be easy, but it's possible, and you deserve better. Drop a comment and tell me where you're from. Let me know I'm not alone. Because quiet revenge, it lives here.